There's something I came across recently that completely changed the way I think about intimacy. And honestly, it might change the way you see it too. Because most people assume that it's all about intensity, performance, or doing something impressive. But what if I told you that what actually works is much simpler, and at the same time, completely misunderstood? Here's the surprising part. A lot of men believe they're doing everything right, but many women quietly feel something is missing, and they don't always say it. Not because they don't care, but because they don't want to hurt your confidence. I'm Dr. Sophia Hayes, and after years of listening to real conversations and experiences, one thing has become very clear. There's a gap between what men think works and what actually creates real satisfaction. And once you understand this gap, everything starts to make sense. I recently came across research that explored what actually helps women reach deeper levels of satisfaction during intimacy. And some of the results were honestly unexpected. So I did something interesting. I had a long, honest conversation with a small group of women I trust. Real, open discussion, no filters. And what they shared, it almost perfectly matched the research, which tells you something important. This isn't theory, this is reality. So let's break it down in a way that actually helps you understand what works and why. The first thing you need to understand is this. Connection matters more than most people think. Not just physical connection, but emotional presence. When there's eye contact, closeness, and a sense of being fully engaged, everything feels more intense, more real, more meaningful. And this amplifies the entire experience. But here's where most people get it wrong. They focus too much on movement and not enough on consistency. Fast, random, or overly forceful actions don't create better results. In fact, they often do the opposite. What actually works is steady, controlled, intentional rhythm, something the body can recognize and respond to. When movements are consistent and aligned, the body relaxes. And when it relaxes, that's when real response begins. Another important factor is alignment and positioning. Small adjustments can completely change the experience. Even something as simple as changing angles or adding slight elevation can create better contact and more natural flow. And this is where awareness becomes powerful, because it's not about doing more, it's about doing things better. Now, here's something that came up again and again in both the research and real conversations: control. When a woman has the ability to adjust movement, pace, and pressure, the experience becomes much more effective. Why? Because every person is different. What works perfectly for one may not feel the same for another. So, when there's flexibility and responsiveness, everything improves. And here's something many men overlook. Being engaged doesn't mean taking over completely. It means being present, active, responsive. When you show intention through your actions, it changes how everything feels, because it communicates desire. And that emotional signal, it matters more than most people realize. Now let's talk about variety. This part is important, even when something works. Repeating it the same way every time can reduce excitement. Human psychology responds strongly to unpredictability, to change, to progression. So when there's a natural flow between different moments, it keeps the experience alive. More engaging, more dynamic. But here's the key. Not every moment is meant to achieve the same result. Some moments are about building intensity, others are about connection, and some are about reaching that final peak. When you understand that, you stop treating everything the same way, and that's when things improve. Now here's something else that doesn't get talked about enough. Physical readiness. Things like stress, energy levels, and overall health. They play a huge role because the body responds differently depending on internal conditions. If there's tension, fatigue, or poor circulation, it affects sensitivity. It affects response. So it's not just about what you do in the moment, it's also about how prepared the body is to respond. Now here's the part that really surprised me. There are certain approaches that feel intense, even exciting. but don't always lead to the final result people expect. And that's okay, because not everything is about the outcome. Some experiences are about the feeling, the energy, the emotional intensity, and those moments still matter. In fact, they're part of what makes everything feel complete. So here's the real takeaway I want you to understand. Stop thinking of intimacy as one single goal and start seeing it as a full experience, a combination of connection, awareness, consistency, and intention. When you focus only on the outcome, you miss everything that leads to it. But when you understand the process, that's when everything changes. So next time, slow down, pay attention, stay present, adjust based on response, and most importantly, focus on connection over performance, because that's what creates something real. And that's what most people never truly understand.